Hello. Some familiar faces. Welcome. So excited to see you here. Okay. Oh my gosh. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, where are you joining from? From across the world? I'm going to take my earrings off as they are hitting against my headphones. There we go. Okay. I am in Mexico right now. It's not my usual state that I'm in, but Dominican Republic, welcome. Northern Ontario. Oh my gosh, where in Northern Ontario are you from? Calgary, Manitoulin Island. I don't know if I said that correctly. Oh, you're breastfeeding. Good for you. Edmonton, Alberta. Oh my gosh, so many Canadians. I love this. Usually I'm in Canada. I was in Vancouver for a long time, but I'm in North Ontario ish, northern of Toronto. Depends how you define it. We're going to get started shortly here. Hello from BC. Oh my gosh, it's so nice to see Canadians. Ottawa, Ontario. Not feeling well. Thank you for turning your camera on. This is so exciting. I love to see you all. All my Canadians, all my Canadian women. It's what we like, right? That's like what we like to see. I'm going back to Canada next week from Mexico. Okay, we're gonna get started. We're gonna just continue to add people as they come in. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited that you are here. Am I recording? I'm recording. My name is Brittany. I know quite a few of you, and there are so many beautiful new faces, so many from Canada. Welcome. And today we are talking about everything with peptides, and specifically peptides for women, which is not talked about really anywhere. So we're going to dive in. I suggest if you can, I know some of you are doing other things, but having a notepad and a pen is going to be really helpful. I'm going to go through a bunch of different things, and I'm probably going to say something that is going to be helpful for you, and you're going to want to write it down. That being said, the replay for this will be sent out this afternoon. So you will be able to watch this again and write down all of the information that I say. And yeah, if you see me looking down, if you see me writing notes, it's because I also take notes, especially if you guys have questions in the chat. I really encourage you to have your cameras on. I can see a bunch of you do. You can ask questions in the chat, introduce yourself for the new people joining. If you want to put in where you're joining from, that's also really interesting. I am currently in Mexico. Usually I am in Muskoka in Ontario, but we have kind of left for the winter and we've been traveling south all over. But I go back after Easter, which is in a week and a half. So yeah, let's get started. I don't want to waste any of your time. Basically the way that I structured this masterclass is I'm going to kind of do like a very short, brief overview of peptides for those who just need a little bit of foundation and basics. And then I'm going to talk about peptides in the different phases of womanhood. I want to talk about cycling. So everyone who still has their cycle right now, preconception, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. And after that, I'm actually going to get into some goals or symptoms specific peptides. We can talk about protocols. We can talk about a bunch of different things. Depends on how much time we have left at that point. But the things that I chose for that are things that are very specific for women, things that I care a lot about when I was going down this journey myself. So things like body composition and fat loss, specifically for women, hair, skin, and nails is a big one. Energy, like how do you actually have energy day to day to show up for your work, for your family? We're going to talk about sleep and all sorts of things like that. So seriously, stay tuned because that's all going to come. So I would love to know in the chat, who here has ever tried a peptide? You could say yes, you could say no. You could say they're sitting in my fridge and I haven't done anything with them. But I'm so curious. Okay, good. We have some yeses. Great. BBC and Glow. Good stack. Nice. So you can continue to chat. So when I was going down this whole peptide journey, I started looking into this a couple years ago. as I moved from the holistic nutrition space into biohacking. And now I'm becoming board certified in longevity medicine. And when I started studying longevity medicine, obviously peptides are included in that. And I really started to see that peptides are mostly talked about in male dominated spaces. Like the way that peptides started in the beginning was very much like the gym bros in the corner of the gym talking about like GLP-1s, GLP-3s. How can we be as toned and ripped and, massive as possible? It was the bodybuilder space, really. And there wasn't a lot of talk about women. How does this impact women? Women are not just smaller men. Women are so different. We're so different at the different phases of our lives. We're so different day to day, hormonally, where we are in our menstrual cycle, if we still have our menstrual cycle. And so there really wasn't a lot of talk about that. And I didn't want to just follow protocols, or I didn't want to just follow recommendations that were made for men, because I'm not a 40-year-old man trying to get super jacked and look a certain way. I'm not. And how does it actually impact my fertility? And if I want to have more kids, or for the women who are past that phase in life, what about if you're in perimenopause or if you're on HRT? So there's so many different complications here for women. And I really just don't see this talked about a lot online. And so that's when I started being like, okay, this is something I'm going to research, and this is something that I'm going to figure out. Then I kind of like, went into the deep dark web, as we all do. And I started consuming all the content. It's all over Instagram and TikTok right now. It's kind of everywhere. And when I started talking about peptides, I noticed, and I know a bunch of other people have noticed this, is how censored the content is. So I have been in the biohacking space for over 10 years. I think it's even 15 years now. And I have posted things in the past that have been flagged and censored on social media. And peptides now is another one of those things. So even last week, I got notified by YouTube that one of my YouTube shorts about colloidal silver, of all things, has been flagged. And my account has a new flag on it because of this post that I made years ago about colloidal silver and how it's antibacterial and antimicrobial for your skin and for things like that. So it's hard because not only is so much of the information made from men that's out there, it's also censored. I put up a peptide video last week on TikTok and it got 0 views. 0. Like it just sat on my account dead. And then I posted something random and it got views. And so it's hard to find this actual helpful information, protocols. It's hard to find a community of women who get it and have the peptides, are interested in longevity medicine, and are ready to, take that next step. So that's kind of like why I created this community, why I'm doing these master classes, is because I'm like so passionate about it myself. So in the chat, I'd love for you, before we dive into these phases, what phase of your womanhood life and life cycle are you in right now? Are you cycling? Are you in perimenopause, postmenopause, postpartum, preconception, fertility, postmenopause, um, cycling, postmenopause? Because we're going to dive into every single phase right now, and I'm going to give you some guidance here. Perimenopause. Oh, we have a good mix. This is awesome. Cycling. Perfect. Good. That's great. So what's really interesting here is it's so different, right? Like we get our periods and then we have our menstrual cycle for so many years, and then we hit perimenopause. And perimenopause is about 10 years, and then there's menopause and postmenopause. Those time periods are so, so different hormonally and on a cellular level. We cannot be doing the same thing day in and day out, month in and month out, because we are so different. And you know what? I actually don't need to tell you that, because you know that. Like the way that you feel on your period versus the day before you ovulate is so different. Like, I feel so different. I feel like my body looks so different, to be honest. The way I felt during, oh my gosh, during pregnancy versus early postpartum, when you have the massive drop off of hormones, was so different as well. So I think there is a lot to be said here about how do we take peptides, which are an incredible tool for us to use to be as healthy as we can be, and how do we apply them to this specific phase that we're in? And it's not necessarily that we need to come on and off certain ones during those times. It's more understanding what is happening with our hormones during those phases so that when new symptoms pop up, we actually understand. We actually can register and realize and be aware that, hey, like during this phase of my cycle, I am more receptive to certain peptides, which means that they're actually going to be more potent and work differently in my body versus the later phase of my cycle. So let's start with because we're talking on it now, the cycling, the fertile years. This is like a pretty high overview, but a lot of you, I think, already know this. The menstrual cycle is cut up or like, in 4 different phases. But for this, we're going to simplify it into 2, which is the follicular and the luteal phase. The follicular phase is before you ovulate, which includes your period and then right before ovulation. This is where we have the most estrogen. This is where you are like glowing, you feel really good, and there's so much energy, and you just feel like, wow, life is amazing. At least that's how I feel in this phase. And what's interesting here is that with certain peptides, especially the peptides that impact growth hormone, um, this receptor expression of growth hormone actually increases. So if you are on a growth hormone related peptide, things like ipamorelin, reta, tesamorelin, CJC 1295, any of those ones, a lot of the ones that really impact body composition and weight loss, you will actually react more and receive it more during that first half of your cycle because of the estrogen. Estrogen amplifies that growth hormone receptor response. And that's amazing. That's great. Right? Like that's really good for us to know. That means I'm taking this thing, it's going to work really well. Okay. But on the flip side of that, after ovulation, estrogen drops off. It has another little bit of a blip, but it drops off. And then progesterone goes really high. And so when progesterone goes really high, this is calming. We become much more like grounded in our bodies right up to leading towards our period. And so we actually could need a little bit of a lower dose of specific peptides during this time, things that impact growth hormone. This is where if you keep the same amount of growth hormone related peptide, you actually could have water retention during this time. So for some women during that luteal phase, a 20 to 30% reduction in those peptides actually does much better and reduces that chance of side effects. This is like the content that I don't see online. I don't know about you guys. I don't see anyone talking about this online. I didn't know this. So it's not just in your head of like, oh, I feel more bloated or, oh, my face is puffy and I'm looking in the morning. I'm looking in the mirror in the morning. It's like, no, your estrogen is low. Your progesterone is high. You're taking a peptide that is working differently now in your body. And so we actually need to like be able to be aware of that and be able to be like, okay, maybe I need to titrate this a little lower, which I think is very interesting. There's also other peptides as well that can work differently in these different phases, but the biggest one is related to those hormonal peptides, the growth hormone peptides. If we jump to preconception and fertility phase here, those are kind of 2 different things. And actually, in my community, I have a whole fertility suite, and I talk all about how to optimize fertility. And there is so much you can do in terms of peptides for preconception and fertility. If anyone is in like actively trying to get pregnant right now on this call, A really great peptide is called kisspeptin. You can look it up. You can find it in my community. It's spelled KISSPETIN. And this actually helps to trigger ovulation. So it's being studied right now. It's one of the best ones for fertility. But you can do so much during the preconception stage if you're doing a cleanse or a detox to really optimize your health before trying to carry a baby. So working on stress management, there's great peptides for that. Sleep. I'm actually about to start a new sleep peptide next week when I have access to it back in Canada. Because I have a toddler who sleeps in my bed, so I could use a little more sleep, a little more deep sleep. Um, and gut health and inflammation is really what you could target in that preconception window there. Then we kind of move into perimenopause, which is what I kind of alluded to earlier. So perimenopause is, I feel like perimenopause, I don't know, you guys can say if you agree in the chat, is having its moment right now. I see so much content coming out about perimenopause. It makes me so excited. Like, it makes me so excited to think, oh, when I get to that stage, there's going to be way more research, way more content, way more information for me to understand. Even when I talk to my mom about peptides, who's now on a stack that I've put her on, um, she talks to me and she says, like, wow, I didn't even know perimenopause was really a thing. And I was like, yeah, it starts about 10 years before you hit menopause. And so in perimenopause, there is a lot of volatility and variability with your hormones. When you look at your menstrual cycle during this time, you will have cycles that have high estrogen and you'll have ones that have low, and you'll have cycles where you actually don't ovulate at all. And so how can you take a peptide stack and apply it to something that changes so much? The best recommendation I have here for the little amount of time that we have would be to track your symptoms for sure, not just your cycle. So if you feel bloated, changes in your skin, libido, energy, sleep, all of that, and then apply it to how to bring peptides in to help those different things. In those high estrogen cycles, you can have symptoms like breast tenderness, bloating, sleep disruption. And when you have the high estrogen cycles, like we talked about estrogen earlier, if you are on any growth hormone related peptides, they will actually be amplified during those cycles. But on the flip side, again, if you are in a low estrogen swing and you have a lower cycle as your estrogen slowly starts to become lower and lower, you can experience fatigue, brain fog, dry skin, and the peptide that you are taking actually won't be as effective during that cycle. But you need to be careful of the other different side effects that you can have there, like we talked about with the water retention. So perimenopause is very interesting. If you layer on hormone replacement therapy with peptides, which is probably what I will do and what I recommend to people who are in that phase, you really, really need to be tracking your cycles, tracking your symptoms, tracking your doses of your peptides and how it's affecting your body. Because I think there is a way and there is a world, and I mean, people are doing this, where you can combine both of those therapies and feel really good and reduce your likelihood of complications during that time, of night sweats, low energy, the mental changes, all of that. When we talk about postmenopause, this is probably one of the best phases in life for peptides. Like, there is so much consistency day in and day out with postmenopausal women. You can get so much benefit here with way less side effects, way less concern of specific doses and dosages. With the different ones, especially the ones that relate to the growth hormone, you can have a bit of an upward adjustment here. You can titrate upwards, and it can actually be a bit closer to the male doses for postmenopausal women. And things like collagen, mitochondrial health, tissue integrity, mobility, joints is really big here. There are really amazing peptides that can help with those, like epitalon, which is a great peptide for longevity, BPC 157, which is incredible for inflammation, joints, GHKCU, which is what I'm taking. I actually have it here with me. Is great for skin. I have my mom on that one. Rebuilding collagen, thickening the skin, that type of thing. Those significant changes that a lot of women actually experience during menopause. So I want to know in the chat. So I'm going to tell you actually how I work with clients. Well, the first question I ask, and I just did this with my mom recently. I said, in 90 days, so it's 90 days from now. So today's March 25th. 90 days from now is June 25th. What is the one thing that you would like upgraded about your health? Because when we talk about peptides, you can't come to it and say, oh, I want to lose weight, have better skin, better energy, better sleep, all of these things, better hormones. Like, here's 15 peptides. Okay, go. It doesn't work like that. So we really have to break it down and say, okay, if you could change one thing about your health in 90 days, this thing that is bugging you, that's really hard, that's making it hard, yeah, lose the 10 stubborn pounds. Yeah. Like it's just gnawing at you. What is the thing? So I would love for you to drop it in the chat right now. What is the one thing that you would upgrade about your health? Sleep, energy, energy. Yes, more energy. Honestly, for everyone saying energy, Motzi is amazing. Amazing. It's been incredible. I've been on it for, oh my gosh, I don't know, 6 weeks now. Lose weight in 90 days. Yeah. Gut health. Inflammation, BPC 157 is really good. Um, yeah. And so when I work with clients and, when I create these stacks, that's what we start with is like, what is the number one goal? Can you write that down? I was expecting slideshow to see all the crazy names. I'm not familiar with them yet. Yes. And the replay of this will be sent to you and I will also email you. But in terms of the energy, there you go, Motzi. Uh, and then when we work with that one goal, we work from there in terms of creating the peptide stack. And then we track, right? How are you feeling after 4 weeks? How are you feeling after 8 weeks, 12 weeks? Because it changes. And sometimes we need to increase the dose once you have more tolerance to it. But it's very specific on the peptide, to be honest. So I think that is, and I'm going to like in a little bit, I'll talk about common mistakes I see with peptides as well, especially with women and how we try to do it. But that is kind of where I would start. If you're new to peptides and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't understand any of this language. Like, just so you know, I was there too. When I started learning about peptides, I remember, I remember listening to this podcast and it was two men who were exactly what you think, like jacked bros, gym bros, talking about peptides. And I remember listening to it and being like, they're talking a different language. I have no idea any of these acronyms that they just said. And I'm somebody who's been in the health space for over 15 years, biohacking. I go to the conferences, I do it all. And I was like, what? Like, what are all these little things? And so I get it. I totally get how it can feel overwhelming and confusing here. If you have any questions just on that, you can put them in the chat about peptides as we go. I will try to answer them. I feel like I said that already, but yeah, I understand where you're at. Um, and then once I started actually getting more and more into peptides, I was able to actually understand it more and build content and that type of thing. And I really came to peptides from a place of doing so much and feeling like why isn't why aren't things moving more? Like, why isn't the needle moving more? Like, I was doing everything. Like, when we talk about foundations, getting enough sleep, stress management, uh, protein forward diet, strength training, the right supplements. And I just kept seeing peptides and I was like, okay, maybe I should try these. Like, they feel advanced, but I don't know. Like, maybe it's time that I start bringing these in, and I would love to feel kind of how I did before I had my kid, and how do I kind of show up again as that person? And I started trying them, and it was life changing. Like, I don't even sell peptides, just so you know. Like, I don't sell them myself, but I'm just telling you, it was life changing. Like, I went on a peptide for energy, and I went on a peptide for hair, skin, and nails, and I couldn't believe the clarity that I started to feel right away without the caffeine, without the crash. Like, my capacity to actually hold more as a mom and a business owner and a wife increased. And then so I started getting my husband on them. And I was like, he has a very stressful job. And I was like, okay, this is what I think you should take. And he was blown away of like, how is this possible? And he told me, he's actually like, I don't have the time and the space to not be on my game. So what can I take? Um, and he was shocked by it. And then my mom, and then here we are, kind of snowballed to everybody. How do we work with you to customize the peptide stack? I do see clients personally one on one, and it's through email only right now. And that is because, why is that? A lot of peptide stuff is censored online. And so we're currently like building that page of my website so that we cannot be censored. So, but yes, you can. And I can put my email in the chat for you. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Natasha. And who do you see to get on the peptides? Um, if you're asking for the companies that I use, that will actually be coming in the email today. I can send that to you. I don't gatekeep. Like, I will literally tell you the brands that I use. It's like, they're great. There's two different ones that I use. And where was it, the question? What about NAD for energy? Yeah, I think NAD would be amazing for energy. Um, Works on a cellular level. I think, and I can show you the protocol that I made for energy. I think for energy, there is a lot of different things you could do. And it really depends on what your other symptoms and signs are with energy. Um, because energy is like quite vague. So I'd want to like dig deeper and be like, what specifically about energy what are you struggling with? For me, my energy was like, I just felt like by the afternoon, I really didn't have a lot left in me. And I felt like, I think which so many women do, is like, I'm holding so many balls in the air at all times. Like, how do I not let one drop? Like, how do I show up 100% for my kid, my husband, my business, my health, my body? Like, how do I do that? So I need to be leveling up and be able to play at that level of field at all times. And so that was like really my goal, and my inspiration to get more energy. How do you determine proper dosage for each individual? So this is very specific on the symptoms and signs, your age, where you are, of course, in the womanhood spectrum, like we just kind of went through, and running labs, which is great. So functional labs have been really cool because they've become so easy to do at home. So in Canada, there's a brand that I use. In the States, you actually, if anyone's from the States here, you have multiple brands that you can use where you just do a blood test at home and you get all of your hormones done, vitamin levels done, and everything like that. The one that I do in Canada is called Cyfox. I can put that in the chat for you guys, and I can add it to my email, um, so that you can actually order through them. It's an at-home biomarker blood test, and it tests, I think, 58 different biomarkers. And I love that one. And the price point on that one is actually really great. It's called Cyfox. And I have a discount code too I can send you guys if you're interested. Welcome, Marianne. So no, we're not talking about specific peptide right now. We were talking about I was just answering some of the questions in the chat. So I'm going to move into I didn't even explain what peptides are, but man, so many of you are on them. I don't think I need to, but I can quickly. A good, uh, a good explanation that I heard it once and I was like, oh, that makes sense, is the way that I describe them, the analogy is they're a short chain of amino acids. And so the average person hearing that might be like, okay, great. I don't know what an amino acid is. So the way that I explain it is a protein is like a sentence. Amino acids are like the letters in that sentence. And a peptide is a small word in that sentence. So for example, if I say, this is the best masterclass I've ever been to, this is the best masterclass I've ever been to, that would be the protein, the sentence. The amino acids would be the T, the H, the I, the S, the different letters. And the peptide would be the small little words, all the small words that connect the bigger words in that sentence. So for example, is could be a peptide, the could be a peptide, if that makes sense. So they're little messengers that work to upregulate or downregulate hormones. They work in different pathways. But that's kind of how I always have my analogies with people. And then people can kind of understand it from that perspective. Does that help? That helped me in the beginning. Okay, let's move to pain points because I feel like I find this stuff really interesting. I think you will too. I want to start with weight loss and body composition. I think this is a big one for women. I know a bunch of you put this in the chat, and there is a lot that you can do here. Again, it depends where you are on that womanhood phase life cycle. If you are post 35 and you are not trying to conceive, pregnant, or early postpartum, there are some amazing peptides you can take that will impact your growth hormone. I always recommend getting get all of your hormone labs tested before you start anything that is going to actually impact your hormones here. So a great one and a lot of combinations that people do is like ipamorelin, CJC 1295. Those two go really well together. Tesamorelin's great. And I feel like I'm just going to like say a bunch of names to you, but there are really great ones that are identified for that phase that can be great for growth hormone. And so growth hormone really matters here because this is the hormone that impacts body composition, weight, metabolism, muscle, and tissue repair. It is really important, obviously, as we're growing, as we're kids, into teenagers, into adults. But then once we hit about early mid-30s, it actually starts to drop off. So that's why you see growth hormone and all of the different like RETA, GLP-3, GLP-1s, all these things. That's why you see so many people talking about growth hormone. It's because it really, really does actually impact body composition and fat loss. So again, I would suggest getting your labs tested. And if you're in that phase, like I said, post 35, not around having a kid, just had a kid, then it could be great for you. If you are, if your growth hormone is still great, but you're still looking to lose weight or body composition, whatever you want to call it, MOTS-c is really great for this. So MOTS-c is a mitochondrial peptide, and this improves insulin sensitivity and metabolic flexibility. And I'm going to be so honest with you guys. So I have a baby who is 20 months. Okay, so he's a toddler. I call him a baby. He's a toddler. Anyway, I had a C-section. I found out he was breech really last minute. We had a home birth planned, and then I had to have a C-section. It was a whole thing. I did a podcast episode on it. In my community, home births weren't supported if you had a breeched baby, and it was pretty traumatic, actually. Anyway, I really wanted to be able to lose, like someone said, the last 10 pounds or lose the the belly that's there, and I have a C-section scar and like the shelf and the fat that stays there by the scar tissue. But I didn't want to do anything that would impact my hormones or my growth hormone. So I started taking MOTS-C, and I have been shocked at like just how slowly, naturally, and not drastic, but I've actually been able to like reduce my postpartum belly. And that's not, I just want to like say this, that's not any shade to anybody about what their body looks like. This is my body and this is how I feel about my body. And so not only did I get so much energy from that peptide, I was like, wow, like this is actually healing that part of my body that I've been trying to heal and work on for almost 2 years. And that's what peptides do, right? Like, and that's why so many people are excited about them is like, they can just really get you there. They really can move you from A to B after you've tried everything. They're not a quick fix, of course, and they're not cheap, and you have to have the foundations in place. Like peptides only work as hard as you do. So if you're not sleeping well, if you're not lifting weights at the gym and doing strength training, if you're not eating a protein forward diet, which I can talk about if we need to, they're not going to work as well. So you have to have those foundations. But if you have that really strong foundation and you add them in, man, you're going to hit your goals. Because I have, my family has, my clients have, and obviously you've seen online how many people have. So that's kind of the weight loss. Like I could do a whole hour on weight loss just trying to, keep this moving here. Skin, hair, and nails. I actually want to do a full masterclass on this because I think it's so fascinating. The copper peptide or GHKCU is the most commonly talked about here. It's great for collagen synthesis, skin repair, hair follicle repair. If you are dealing with postpartum hair loss, this is for you. If you're dealing with hair loss or hair thinning during menopause, perimenopause, this would be amazing. What dose of MOTS-C to get the benefits you described? Right now, I'm on 1 milligram per day. But I started much less than that. I started at 500 micromilligrams per day. And then I went to, what did I go to? I went to 2 milligrams twice a week. And now I'm on 1 milligram once a day. And I'll probably go up a bit next month. The most you want to do for MOTS-C is 5 to 10 milligrams a week. And then you also have to watch, you have to watch your side effects and see how your body reacts to it. But yes, skin, hair, nails. What I'm doing when I get back in Canada is I'm actually ordering a bunch of different peptides, and I'm going to be making my own peptide serum for my skin. Because right now, if you have any peptide serums, if you bought them, even at Sephora, which has them, the amount of peptides that are in them is so little, it's really not doing much. You're better off ordering the separate peptides, ordering a vial of hyaluronic acid, and creating your own serum. And the serum, and I will just put this in here so I'm not gatekeeping anything. This is the combo that I'm creating when I get back is Snap 8, 7, GHK. All of these peptides work on different pathways to support the skin, which is why I'm including all of them, because they all do different things, which means optimal results from all the different pathways. SNAP A, Seven Cell, GHK. Okay, there I go. So I'm going to be putting those all together to be making a topical serum for skin for that. And I will let you know how that experiment goes. I'm very excited about that. So what's really cool with some of these peptides, there are topical ones, and they work through being put onto the skin. So what's interesting, for example, like SNAP 8 is one that actually kind of reduces muscle movement, almost like Botox. You know how Botox will like freeze everywhere? So it will actually work on the muscles contracting, which is crazy. But obviously it's like you can still smile and do everything, but over time, it slowly starts to reduce that muscle contraction. but it's much more gentle than Botox. Obviously, we know Botox is a neurotoxin and you're not injecting it. And so it reduces all that movement, right? So, like, I don't have any Botox in my face. Like, think about, when you're constantly raising your eyebrows, you're doing that movement. But now, if you put Snap 8 on and it's kind of like reducing that mechanism, now those lines are going to be less deep over time. So, that's just one mechanism of one of the ones that I'm creating. When we're talking about skin, we obviously, inflammation is really something to think about here and gut health. So, BPC 157 is great for that as well. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. Time is flying by, so I really want to be able to help you as much as I can. Sleep is a big one. The one that I'm going to be trying next week when I get home is called DSIP, or DSIP for sleep. But a lot of people like Epitalon ones as well, or people use Cell K, which is really great for anxiety, actually. So if you're the mom, and I've been there, or the woman who wakes up in the middle of the night and then starts thinking about all of the things that you have to do the next day or that week, this is for you. Like the running thoughts, the ruminating thoughts, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I need to go back to bed. And then you're looking at your watch and you're like, oh, okay, should I just get up and start working now? This is for you. Helps to really reduce that stress, reduce that anxiety. Um, and that is for women whose any sleep issues is related to that. Yes, it does. Janelle, yeah, it does. And then energy. We kind of touched on energy. So the biggest one for energy that I would say right now is MOTS-c. I think that's great. Like I said, it's a mitochondrial peptide. And we've already kind of talked about that. Other ones would be the stress one that I just talked about, Cell K, which is great as well. BPC 157. BPC 157 is really interesting. It's kind of like a band-aid for everything. It works in so many different ways in the body, and it creates such great anti-inflammatory effects that it could help with your gut health, but it could also help with your energy. So BPC 157 is something I feel like a lot of women, if not all, should cycle on and off depending on what they're going through because it impacts so many different areas of the body. Um, okay. Does that kind of help a little bit? I know I kind of ran through those really quickly. I'm seeing some nods. I'm going to show you my peptide library here for a second. Let me screen. I think this is going to help. Let me share my screen. Where did you go? Okay. I think this is going to help. Okay. Can you guys see this? Yeah. Okay. Let me move you to the top. So, as you can tell, like peptides, oh my gosh, like there's so much information out there and it's so overwhelming. And you're kind of like, where do I start? But I didn't want to create a guide because I've had so many guides that I've gotten that get emailed to my inbox and I do nothing with them. And I read them and I'm like, oh, I'll read that later. And I literally don't. So this is my community. And this is my new peptide suite that I've built. So it's called The Longer Life and it's all about longevity for women, which is the most important thing. We want to be as healthy as we can be for as long as we can be. And peptides are one tool in that. So we meet, you can see here my community live calls. We meet every 2 weeks where I do deep dives into all of your health questions. I even do deep dives into specific protocols that I've released. Like you can see some of my recent protocols, my workout plan, nervous system and stress. We do all that type of thing in here. My master classes are in here. And then I have my private podcast. I'll just show you quickly. So my main podcast has over 400 episodes. It's called Biohacking with Brittany. But this podcast is private. And this is where I bring the best of the best, a lot of women, and they come and answer your questions. So you will see the next people coming up here. People comment and they ask their questions. And then I hop on a private video with these different health experts and I ask them your questions. So it's really cool because you get access to people you otherwise would not get access to. Okay, so then the protocols and I talked about so the peptide suite. Uh, Let me just show you some of the things that are in here. This is where all of the good information is. Like, if you are looking to do a deep dive and be like, how do they work? Where did peptides come from? What's the history? This is where you can go. And I will just show you one of my favorite ones is cycle timing and hormonal considerations. So if you look here, I talk about the menstrual cycle, I actually show you the different hormones and how it impacts everything. Practical recommendations, perimenopause, menopause, postpartum. Um, it's just kind of understanding that we are so different from men. We're not just smaller humans. And so our protocols and the things that we do for our bodies actually do need to be very different. This one's interesting too, because it actually goes deep into growth hormone, kind of like I alluded to earlier. And I show you how growth hormone actually works in the body. So it pulsates and it's higher at night and it goes lower during the day. And then it peaks again in the evening. And you can see here some of the recommendations for the peptides and how growth hormone changes over our time of our life. And then it's related to research and stuff like that. The
Brittany,
peptide, yeah,
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Is what you're showing us right now part of the community
yes,
that's behind the paywall? Okay, great.
yes, yeah,
I just wanted to confirm.
yeah,
Okay,
no
great.
worries. This is the peptide library, and I'm literally adding to this every single day right now. And so this is where you can go to look at any specific peptide and be like, what is this peptide? I've heard of this. How does this work in the body? What are the impacts? So, for example, what was one we talked about? Oh, we could talk about MOTS, what it is and how it works, the primary use cases for women, the research status. This is updated quite frequently. The women specific considerations, which I love, a starting protocol, what to expect, labs, monitoring. And then I added in, because I really do believe in holistic health. And so we can't just take peptides and expect epic results. Like there are things that we can do to support it. And so there's supplements that help the specific peptide, ones that hinder it, same with nutrition, lifestyle. And what you'll notice actually is if you read through all of these, for nutrition and lifestyle, they're very similar for basically all the peptides because they need a lot of protein. They need to be able to, if you're adding in communication between protein, between amino acids, you need enough amino acids. Like you need to be feeding, you have to give them fuel. So that's why you see so many people talking about peptides and proteins is because they go hand in hand. My recommendation for protein is 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of ideal body weight. That might be a lot to some of you. That is my goal and what I recommend to people. I usually I try to hit that as much as I can, but even just having that as a goal makes and forces me to have more protein in my day. Sourcing practical notes and then my clinical note for myself. So this I'm just adding to uh, all the time as I learn and as I try them as well. And then this place is so cool. This is the goals. And this is where there's like the magic, in my opinion. Well, the magic is in the community calls, but the magic is also here. Um, for if you're like, okay, I don't necessarily want to know the science. I don't want to do a deep dive. I don't care about the history of peptides. I just want to have more energy. You'd be like, okay, goals, energy. Where do I start? You can come in here, read this and say, okay, is this stuck for me? Where do I start? What's the foundation? And so maybe you run this for 3 months. Maybe we work together and I support you. And so you feel like, you have somebody helping you personally. And then you're like, okay, maybe I'm ready for more. And then you can add in an advanced stack. You can add in an optional upgrade here. The thing with these is like, this is all very general, right? So you can decide what works for you. Like, even when we talked about MOTS-C, like, you're comparing 5 to 10 milligrams per week. Like, that's a big range. So you need to figure out what works for you depending on where you are. And then I did how every peptide in this specific stack related to energy relates to your phase in womanhood, because that information is important. So you could come in here and say, okay, I'm in perimenopause. I want to go on MOTS-C. What does that mean for me? Oh, it's fine. There's nothing specific. There's no specific notes on it here. What to expect week by week. And then all the labs that I would recommend you run. I put in normal ranges and optimal ranges for women here. This I try to update as well as new information comes out. So if you're ever in here and you see something that you think is been updated, like, just tell me and we will look into it. But you can see all of the different labs that I recommend. What to do if you're running it with other peptides, other lessons, and then notes for myself. So far we have, and this is just being published now, skin, hair, and nails, gut health, libido, it's a big one, PCOS, endometriosis, bone health, longevity, immune health. So this, I'm only going to be adding to this as more and more women say, hey, I need this protocol, or hey, what do I do for this? The last thing I'll just quickly show you, and then I'll end this, is I'm building the motherhood room as well. And this is just going to be a space where, everyone gets access to everything, but you can come in here and I will have the specific recommendations for preconception, fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, early motherhood, because that's just such a specific time and there needs to be so much consideration around it. It's just a very different time in a woman's life than any other time. So that is what we've been building, and I also have my full fertility suite here, and my other protocols and all the other things. But let me stop my screen share. There we go. So that has been such a beautiful thing to build and such good response from people. And they're so excited because, like I said, where can you actually go that's uncensored, that's built for women, that gives you the answers and the dosages and the support that you're looking for. Okay. We have 5 minutes left. So if you guys want to put any questions in the chat, now is the time. I will link to this community. I meant to do that earlier. Natasha, if you want to drop in the link, and that I can help you, or you can take a look at the community. So in the online space, you sometimes see cautions about peptides and cancer, wondering what the real risks are, or if someone should not be on them. I'm assuming this would be based on lab results done prior. Yeah, exactly, Nicole. Yeah. So what's interesting about cancer, yeah, I feel like a lot of you might actually already know this. There's a test that you can do. I'm doing it when I get back to Canada in this summer. I forget the name of the test. I got to find it. My friend who's a naturopathic doctor who specializes in cancer, has this test that she runs at her clinic that you can do yearly that will take a look and see if there's any cells that can relate to cancer even years before and decades before. And that's how she's actually been able to catch so many potential cancers in patients, or, be able to not let it get to that point. So there is testing that you can do. I will find the name for that test. It's a very specific name, and it's not cheap, but I will find the name for that test for you. That is something that I would do if you have a history of cancer in your family. That is something that I would definitely look at and get yearly tested for those tumor cells to see if there's anything growing that maybe is like a bit of a caution right now, but in 10 years could be stage 2, that type of thing. You can also look at other biomarkers, like inflammatory biomarkers for cancer, and do full blood work panels as well. Does MOTS-C or a different peptide work to support the adrenals? Yeah, great question. So MOTS-C is a mitochondrial peptide, which means that it really has systemic impact on the entire body, as we have mitochondria basically everywhere. But if we're talking about adrenals, you could do something more specific like Selen K, which is great for stress and cortisol. And so if the symptoms that you're talking about are related to that or even anxiety, that is more what I would recommend um, than Motsy for you. Yes, when I work with clients, yeah, there is a fee for that for sure. Yeah. And I can just tell you the way that I do it is it's monthly. We meet biweekly for private consultations, and clients have access to me Monday to Friday over WhatsApp or email. And the reason I did that is because we take peptides every single day or every few days. And so I was getting messages of like women literally video cameraing like on their phones being like, "Am I doing this right?" Like taking the syringes, right? Taking it off, being like, "Oh my gosh, how do I do this?" So, I provide support Monday to Friday because sometimes you just don't know and you need someone to like help you with the actual pulling of the peptides and that type of thing. Beyond optimizing health, wellness, life cycle, etc., do you also work with people with complex chronic health issues as well? Okay, that would be depends. It depends. If I feel like it's out of my scope, chances are I know somebody who can help you. Because I've built my podcast, it's over 400 episodes, and I've been in this space for, I don't know, whatever, 10 years. I know a lot of people in this space. And so if it's something that I truly feel like I'm not an expert in, I have no problems whatsoever being like, I know this person, she's amazing, go work with her. Because I just want you to feel good and be healthy. Like that's my ultimate goal. So yes, I can help you, but I will also refer you if I feel like that's best. Um, can you share where you buy your peptides? Yes. So it'll be in the email that I send you today, but you can take a look now. This is the company that I use in Canada called Cell Eugenics. I think my code with them is Brittany10. Um, the other company that I use for topical peptides, which we talked about, is yeah, no worries. Where on the body should peptides mostly get injected? Does this depend on the type of peptide? Great question. So peptides work systemically, unless it's obviously topical application. So when you're taking an inject syringe, you want to be putting it into fat, essentially. So subcutaneous fat. So you could do it on your belly. Most people do it on their bellies. You could do it under your arm. You could do it under your thigh, on your butt. Sometimes people rotate injection sites because you can get fatigue in that area. And you don't want to do the same place over and over again because you can actually cause scars and scar tissue. So what I do is I actually split, like if you look down at your stomach where your belly button is, you can kind of split it into four. So I have like upper above my belly button on the right, above my belly button on the left, lower, lower. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will actually just rotate like that. But yes, it has to go into fat. Like you're not going to put it into like your thumb joint or muscle or anything like that. Oh yes, thank you there. Was I right? Scantafix. I was right. There you go. Um, yeah. And yeah, they don't work locally. So it's not like like for my C-section scar, right? So I'm using GHKCU, which I actually have here. You can see it's copper peptides, it's blue. Uh you're not going to necessarily need to inject that closer to the scar for it to work. You can inject it anywhere and it is systemic. It works on a cellular level. So you don't need to worry about anything like that. Now, you can also apply it topically. That's different. And obviously, that when you apply anything topically, it only works in that local area. So the serum that I make when I get it in a couple of weeks, I'll actually be working on one for scars. Because I've had a lot of women actually reach out to me about scars on their breasts or scars from surgery, and how can we kind of make scars look better? And there's a lot you can do. Okay, so we're a bit over time. Thank you guys so much for coming. I will put the link again in the chat, Natasha. If you want to drop the link for the community, you can join us over there. And I will send you this replay shortly this afternoon so you have access to it. It will also include the links to the different peptide companies that I use, my discount code links. And I'll make a note. I will put the link to the lab testing that I do at home so that you guys have that link as well. Um, and I think that was it that you guys were asking for. If you have any questions, you can email me. If you want to work together, you can email me. It's info@biohackingbrittany. My podcast is Biohacking with Brittany as well. And thank you so much for joining. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will catch you soon. Bye.